Thank you all for coming. It's been really good to see you, and good day. Let's do it again. That was fun. Let's do it one more time. Thank you. Oh, we have fun, don't we? Actually, can I do stereo? Hello. You can do quadrophonic sound. Yeah. Now, are we going to do something? We should talk about Zero Theorem. So how long has Zero Theorem existed as a project now? So it's probably about... Take the mic! This mic. I don't have a choice anymore. I asked for this mic, and now I have to use this. No other mic. But you should see me now. I'm not hiding behind anything anymore. Zero Theorem started, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago. I was approached by Dick Zanuck, the famous Dick Zanuck, who is no longer with us, unfortunately. And he gave me a script by Pat Russian, who is a professor of creative writing in Florida, and a man who's never written a script before. And I thought it was very interesting and full of ideas, particularly ideas from my previous films. Pat had seen every one of them, and I thought, this is a chance to make a compendium of my work. Somebody's done all the real hard work, if I did script, and I just play. And we started work on it, and in fact, the cast was different back then, and also the budget was very different back then. I was talking to Billy Bob Thornton, who played the part, and the budget was $20 million. Unfortunately, things didn't go very far very quickly, and I went and made Parnassus, and then set off to do Quixote one more time. As one does. Default position. And after a year and a half of farting around with that and failing miserably, I said, I'm desperate, and called my agent, said, I got work. It's been a couple of years behind the camera. I've gone crazy. And she said, well, what about Zero Theorem? And I said, well, find out. And Voltage Pictures were still interested. The only difference was that where a couple years before it was a budget of $20 million, it ended up being a budget of $8.5 million. So we had to tighten our belts somewhat. And the cast was going to be different now. And luckily, thanks to Quentin Tarantino, Christoph had become a very bankable actor. Thank God. Thank you, Quentin. And it gave me a chance to work with Chris, who I've always thought was brilliant. And once he was on board, we were greenlit, and off we went. What was interesting about this film, unlike other films I've done, Chris said yes in late July. By the first week of August, probably in October, we were shooting. Woof, just like that. No time for prep, proper, we just go. And so, for me, it was different than the kind of scripts I've spent years, double thinking and worrying about. I just went with what was written and we'll work out how to make it work later.
Tightening your belt. What did you have to do from how the script originally existed with that $20 million budget to bring it down to 8? Because when you look at the moon sequence on Munchausen, that one very much reflected having to tighten your belt and the sacrifices that were made to adjust.
Well, the first thing you need to do is go to Bucharest, Romania, rather than shoot in London. And it's far cheaper. And in fact, I actually loved working there. I thought it was great because the crews were very good, incredibly hard-working, people that were still hungry. And so that was great. What else did we have to change? Nothing, really. That was all in the script. But we had to rely on friends and people who wanted to give us things. And one of the things that was given to us were Renault Twizzys, these little cars that we have on the street, zooming around the place. We had 15 of them, which is all we had for our street scenes. But then I realized that it wasn't enough, a bit empty, but I spotted some golf carts at the studio. And we'll have those. And we dressed them up a bit, and suddenly they were taxis, and suddenly we had a street with sufficient vehicular traffic to fool anybody. Other than that, I relied on friends, and so people like Matt Damon, Tilda Swinton, Ben Whishaw, they all worked for basic scale. They just came in and worked for as low as you could pay legally in the business. So that's effectively how we did it.
And how different from casting Can you hear me now? Yeah. So when it changed from Billy Bob Thornton to Christoph Waltz, how different was the conception? Was there anything you could change script-wise or how you use the character? Because there's certainly a different kind of delivery to the two of them.
No, I mean, we're flexible. You know, it was basically the same. It still required a haircut and eyebrow cut. But actually, Christoph had more hair than Billy Bob, so it effectively was more expensive.
It's a difficult sell to an actor to say, well, we're essentially taking your look in a certain direction for a pretty long amount of time until I throw it back.
Well, it said that in the script, and so Christoph agreed to do the script. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was just, actually, the script didn't, it only said it was hairless. It didn't mention the eyebrows specifically. But I felt the eyebrows are one of the basic tools of any actor because be seen to be acting, like going up and down. And I thought, Christoph was such a brilliant actor, it would be much better to take those tools away and test them.
Definitely about the testing of the acting.
The other thing I have to say about saving money, costumes. Carlo Poggioli, who did the costumes, had no money for costumes. So, two things. He discovered a Chinese market outside of Bucharest that sold fabric, not by the yard, but by the weight. And it was all wonderful man-made stuff that people shouldn't wear. And unless you want to lose weight quickly, vast amounts of sweat pouring off you. And that's what we use for Matt's costumes, where he blends into the background early on. Also, Carlo started buying up shower curtains, plastic shower curtains and plastic tablecloths, clear ones, and building costumes out of those. So it was a real test of ingenuity and innate talent. And, that was the fun part of it, because you don't have time to say, we need this, it must be like this, I want more money for this. It was dealing with the parameters and the limitations that was imposed by the budget. And the results become different and in many ways more interesting than if we had more money.
No, is your pre-production process fundamentally different now than it was 20, 30 years ago, when you look at storyboarding, or how much do you plan out beforehand before going into a project like this?
No, it was this. In this one, I didn't storyboard much at all. We didn't have time. We just had to get out there, get the elements there that we could put in front of the camera and start working. We did have the advantage of the majority of the film taking place in one location inside the chapel, which we built. No, nothing. I think over the years I've done less storyboarding because I'm more confident that I know kind of what to do. And also, in this instance, it was about the actors, not about clever camera angles. And I just wanted to give the actors space. So Nicola Pecorini, my DP, basically works very fluidly. So, okay, you're going to be sitting there walking, whatever, we'll just catch the action as opposed to saying, you must walk up, stop exactly on that mark, turn your head at that line into that camera that'll be over there. I didn't want that kind of filmmaking, which is very, it works, but I wanted something looser and giving space for the actor rather than technical limitations.
Do you feel that you have less sort of hamster factor moments now, as far as not having this sort of, I must capture this precious little visual affectation?
Yeah.
Although there was a moment in the film, during the choking scene, where I thought, oh, that's a hamster factor moment, when the rodent appeared.
No, I mean, we didn't have rodents. I mean, that was very important in the question. I mean,
But as far as a little visual thing that added a...
Yeah. No, there wasn't any hamster. I've grown out of those moments. In 12 Monkeys, for those of you who don't know about the hamster factory that he's referring to, is we're in a huge power station in Philadelphia. It's very cold, it's vast. And
Filled with asbestos.
Huh?
Filled with asbestos.
Asbestos, yes, and toxic waste of all sorts. And Bruce Willis is basically naked, strapped up to something. And the key in this vast scene with him there was over on the right-hand lower side of the shot is a little hamster is in a little wheel, and the wheel spinning. And to me, the wheel spinning provided the power for this vast place. And if the hamster doesn't run in there, the illusion is shattered. And so as Bruce freezing his ass off there, and I'm trying to get the hamster to run in his little... I've grown out of those megalomaniac moments. But the fact is, the rats that we had, they're not rats, there's actually Brothers Grimm, because Otto from Prague, who trained the animals in Brothers Grimm, trained the ravens, trained the rats, who have to run out of the rat hole at a specific moment, grab a piece of pizza far too big for the opening, and somehow get it back in. And these were brilliant performers. And they did it on cue. I don't know what he does, what electronic means he uses to get these rats to do it. But I really became quite enamored with rats during filming.
I mean, when you talk about the difficulties of getting projects off the ground, what is your threshold beyond which you just start jonesing to do some project, something, just desperate to God? Does that period increase as you get older? Your tolerance threshold? Do you feel more like, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to dive back into that, I need a rest period? Or is it always constant?
No, with the passing of years and the number in the future are less than have passed. It's like trying to get as much done as possible, which is not a healthy way of behaving, because it keeps a sense of frustration. I can't get the money to do this, I can't do that. And but I can't escape this problem. We might not. But life is still a wonderful thing. And all life does not depend on cinema.
Well, when you describe Quixote being a default position now, do you feel that that's going to be the thing that you just, one way or another, you have to close that chapter with a finished film?
Yeah, I think more people are pushing me down this road than me myself, except I do describe it as it's like a tumor that grows larger each year and it has to be excised before I can start living my life again.
It's a self-perpetuating wonder. You could walk away at any moment. Don't you feel you can't walk away at any moment?
No, there's a certain point of being just so pig-headed and non-rational.
No precedent for that whatsoever.
Exactly. But I try to maintain a certain standard at this level, and I hate to let people down and think I actually believe in the importance of believing in what you want to do.
Well, how many projects besides Quixote are floating out there right now that are certainly options? You don't have to name specifically, but
there's two that have been languishing in different archives and bowels of various studios that I'd like to, bring back to life. I mean, in fact, one of them, Richard de Gravenese, who wrote Fishy King, and I've been talking about recently, is, I will name it, it's The Defective Detective, which we were wondering and thinking, can we convert it into like an 8-part miniseries for television, since television at the moment seems to be producing the most interesting work as far as I'm concerned.
You just discovered Breaking Bad.
I finally caught up with the rest of you. I have to thank Netflix, because the first month was free. And so I signed up for Netflix, thinking I could get through Breaking Bad in 1 month. Luckily, my wife went away for a couple of days. I got through 3 series. She turned her back for a moment, I got through another one, and over Christmas, as the family celebrated downstairs, I finished the series! And I suddenly realized how easy it is to become addicted to good storytelling. And that's what it was for me. And with the Netflix thing, unless you put the stop button, the next episode comes on. Whoops, that's 4 o'clock in the morning. And there's another one. Yep.
Did you feel prior to that you had a prejudice against television as a medium within which to work?
Yeah, well, it's kind of that thing of, I started there and felt it's a backward path if you end up there. But that forward thinking is a very Western idea, and now that I've become much more inculcated with Eastern philosophies, the circle must have to be completed at some point.
Speaking of the circle being completed, the Monty Python reunion that just occurred.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was actually against it because because again, it's going back. It's something we did long ago and we're very good at, and we left when we were still good at it. And so the thought of the stage show was, for me, also, it was bothersome because my plan was to be shooting the default position film in October. And so it got in the way of my plans. And I was busy also at the same time when the press was around us. I was doing an opera which was consuming most of my life. And every question about Python was, oh God, why are you doing it? And it became, it seemed to throw it all over the place with a rather negative comment. Which I lied and said it wasn't, but it was. And then we started rehearsing, and it was, why am I doing this? I don't have that much to do, really. I just have to go out, play the buffoon, and get thrown off stage by John Paisley. There's not a lot of satisfaction in that. But as the show started going on, I just basically submitted to the fact it was fun, and the audience was fantastic. And to be able to be, in your 70s, getting away with sub-high school dramatic performances is some kind of great achievement.
Doing gummy flower arranging.
No, that was the most terrifying thing, to do the gummy flower arranging, because it's Mike Palin's sketch. And Mike, I've always felt, is the best of the lot, the best actor in the group, the one that can play anything. And I was basically scared shitless of doing it because I really...
Did he intimidate you at all about it?
No, he was being very nice, kept telling me, well, that was really good. And I said, you're lying to your teeth, you bastard.
That's a good actor, so you believed it.
I didn't, he wasn't that good. But by the end, I seemed to be getting laughs and it seemed to be fun.
Would you do it again?
I'm pretty sure it won't happen again.
You said that how many times over the years?
That was 30 years ago. We were young and foolish. We're older now. Yeah. It'll probably be 2 down and 4 to go if we do it again.
All right, when you look at them, when you're talking about the one thing I want to ask you about, because we touched on briefly, was going back to Mad Men and how you really didn't see that as the New York you knew, because you were working in New York at the time of Mad Men.
As I was working, our offices were on Madison Avenue. So, but it wasn't as colorful, it wasn't so beautifully defined as the TV series, and I thought, this is kind of a Disneyland version of what it was
So
like.
what would your Mad Men be? If you were doing that, we talked briefly, if you were doing sort of the Kurtzman offices version of that, what would it look like? If you're doing Help, if you were doing the Help offices.
It'd be great. Basically good. That's all. I don't know, I didn't spend enough time watching Mad Men to think about how I would do it. I just very quickly looked at it and said, no, I'm disappointed, goodbye. It's very important to keep talking about prejudices, and I try to keep as many of mine alive as possible. So I don't have to waste time trying to understand certain things in life. I just like, I just dismiss it because there's so much to deal with out there, and I just want to be able to just throw something out of the way because I don't like it. And it's totally unfair, it's not reasonable, it's not respectful, but it's a great relief to be able to do it, is all I'm saying.
But Zero Theorem pushed you into pushing another one of those prejudices aside because you got a free iPhone.
Yes. Yes. And now, of course, am an addict. I mean, it's like there should be some iPhone AA where you go to just. No, I love my iPhone. I get as I can. I'm like the ape in 2001 with the great black monolith worshiping me. Can't all of you probably have got your iPhone condoms on to protect it, you know, so when you drop it, it doesn't get hurt. I use only a nude iPhone. A lot of work has gone into the subtle difference in what you feel on this side and on this side. It is a very sexual, erotic object. And in my advanced years, it made the only.
When you were talking about it filling the gaps of your declining years.
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, it's been designed perfectly as my mental abilities, my memory, everything is failing. This gets better and better. It's filling the gap that my life is creating.
It's met you halfway in your decline.
Yes, and that's why I feel it's all because of me.
It feeds into your megalomania.
Yeah, you've got to keep that alive. I mean, if you expect to be a film director, you've got to maintain a certain megalomaniac quality.
Well, I mean, just, you know, for years, I know personally, kicking and screaming, you had to be dragged into social media. Yeah. Which you're on Facebook, Terry Gilliam Web, people can find you, and you're on Twitter, at Terry Gilliam.
I have a confession to make. We are dealing with Satan here. Today, I have signed up for a real Twitter account. The Twitter account that's on at the moment is merely one that just takes, whatever, 140 of the characters that I put on my Facebook page, which I do. Please tell the world, because there are doubters out there that think somebody else is doing a Facebook page. I do it myself, there's nobody else. But the tweets are just chopped off in the middle of some wise and profound.
I made a documentary about Ralph.
But then I'm learning about the exponential nature of Twittering. That, you know, I won't go into it. You all know it because it's dominated your lives for some time now. And it's the reason I made Zero Theorem, to try to escape from tweeting. But I backslid thanks to Ken here.
Guilty. Well, we have, before we get into Q&A, there's a bit of a challenge you want to put forward based on an element in Zero Theorem.
Yes, should we show that clip just to make sure they see what we're going to be referring to?
Yes.
For those who haven't seen the film, which includes me.
You have any idea what Zero
This is wrong clip, stop, kill! Other clip.
Clip number 1.
This is how I deal with actors. Stop! All right, watch.
After 100% of selected items, audience has started. Volumes galore. After 100% of selected items.
Now I have to apologize because I didn't check what the clip was like before you see it. And it doesn't start where it should start. Anyway, it starts in the film with lots of big billboards on the street. And one of them is announcing the Church of Batman the Redeemer. and so we decided to get more believers into the Church of Batman the Redeemer, that anybody who, in the next 2 days?
Next day,
we're not wasting time. Anybody who is seeing or gets a t-shirt made with Church of Batman the Redeemer and tweets a picture of themselves to
at Terry Gilliam, and make sure you put the hashtag Batman the Redeemer. So the photo of you wearing a t-shirt for the Church of Batman the Redeemer. Make sure you CC Terry on it, at Terry Gilliam, and hashtag Batman the Redeemer. And tomorrow,
those who have become true believers
They will get
a signed poster of Zero Theorem. It's signed by, I'm not sure who, but it's signed. That's important.
I believe it's Terry Gilliam.
Oh, is it?
And actually, there's two different posters.
This is now hard work comes now. The mistake of doing a handheld mic. Now you have to hold that. No, you hold it. You've seen that one. And there's the other. This was the teaser poster that was going to be going across this fair country, but was blocked by the Motion Picture Association of America. Because, if you look closely here, there's a naked Christoph Waltz, the beautiful Melanie Thierry. Unfortunately, Christoph's butt is visible. And the Motion Picture Association of America have deemed this inappropriate for America. And so, I guess, I don't know, whatever, well, all I know is you better keep yours covered, that's all, because I'll be after you. But isn't that amazing? As many people on my Facebook page said you can have someone's brains be blown out, no problem, but a man's naked ass is not allowed.
So is everyone clear on the Batman the Redeemer challenge? Everyone clear? Okay. So would you like to open up to take some questions from the audience?
I don't know. Anybody interesting out there?
We can just go. We can go have fun.
Let's just go, sorry. Please, yes, please, questions. I've said enough.
No, I can run down into the audience if you'd like.
The very svelte and athletic Ken Plume will be passing amongst you.
Is everyone ready? Start lining up in the center. I'm going to be meeting you there in just a moment.
And there'll be a laying on of hands later by the Church of Batman the Redeemer. Those of you who are lame, who are ill, you can be saved. There's still time.
I'm coming. I'm falling. Not good. Okay. Here we go.
Here he comes. He is real. You can touch him.
Don't touch me. Okay. Start with your name. You ready?
My name is Sam, and first thank you for gifting us with your magnificent presence.
I couldn't understand the word you said. Just tell me. Now they know.
Thank you for gifting us with your magnificent presence.
You're so kind.
My question is,
some for me, some for you.
in some of the interviews I read about Thailand, you talked about how Eliza Rose was the character you felt most close to. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
This is one of the problems with every film I do. I have to identify with characters, and I have to really feel what they feel, or at least convince myself I am. And in Thailand, it was Eliza Rose, who was supposed to be, in the book, she was 11 or 12. In the film, she's only 9.5, because we couldn't find any young actresses at the age of 11 who still had any child innocence left in them. They'd all been corrupted by television. They had all could shake their booties, even though they didn't have booties to shake. And Jodelle was extraordinary, absolutely fantastic. And because she's playing with these little doll heads, you have to become like her. You have to play. And so I had a second childhood, this time as a girl. And it's the only way I know how to make films, that I have to become them. I mean, unfortunately now, as I've become Q, I sit in front of my fucking computer screen doing fuck all day, going around in circles, basically, so there's a price to pay. But, you know, I thought, I love that film. I think it was important to me because at the time, in the press, it was all about child victims. Victims, and children are strong. They're powerful creatures. They are very seductive and beautiful. They know how to bat their eyes to make us go, ooh, you are so sweet, and we feed them. But they are strong, and I think that's one of the important things of that movie for me was to basically say that, and she's put through a terrible time, but she's able to reinvent the world around her and find the magic in it, find the beauty, find love. So that's what it's about. Oh, and she gets Christoph's spare bum. Hi there. This is very nice. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jason, and I think my parents took me with them when they saw Time Bandits, and I was probably only like 3. And I spent a significant part of my childhood thinking parts of that movie came from my own mind, like my own dreams, or had happened in my own life. And then when I got older and saw it again, I was like, oh, I always thought that was my dream. Anyway, that to me always played into the notion I've heard you talk about of emotional shrapnel, that good fantasy should leave emotional shrapnel. I was wondering if you could just talk about that notion, if you still hold that to be true.
Yeah, I mean, to me, cinema is such a powerful medium, and that's why I also feel one's got to be responsible. So I'm very bad at doing films that involve a lot of shooting and violence. I don't like it, but to me, films are about ideas. Ultimately, that's the ones that I remember that really struck me, that hit me at a certain point in my life, that opened my eyes to a new way of looking at the world. And that's the kind of shrapnel I carry with me. I mean, as a child, I think it was, well, the Disney cartoons like Pinocchio and, okay, those were great. Thief of Baghdad, Michael Cowell's film. I used to have nightmares about it because I was the boy caught in the web with the spider coming down. I wake up in a sweat, wrapped up in my bedclothes. But I don't miss. I mean, that was great to have nightmares. I found it very useful to grow up having nightmares and getting used to the fact that you survive them. You wake up in the morning and there's a life still to be lived. But I remember the other one that was the big one for me was Paths of Glory. I was like about 14 when I saw Kubrick's Paths of Glory. And here was a film about injustice. And I've been very happily watching Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, on the Blockhouse and Doris Day. Wonderful movies that are great fun. But suddenly there was a movie that said the world can be a very unjust place. And which got a lot of anger going in me and made me feel that, okay, I want to make movies that get people to think about things like that. But it's mainly about trying to get people to perceive the world in a new way. Whether they like it or not, it doesn't interest me. It just, can I achieve that? I think I was saying to somebody earlier about Brazil. There was a lawyer in New York who, having seen the film, went back to his office, locked the door, and was in there for 3 days without speaking to anybody. Now that's the bad kind. The other was a lady in New York who saw the film in Manhattan, walked home 20-some blocks, and realizing, having walked that far, she had walked completely the wrong direction. She was caught up in the magic of the film. So then I know I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. So I'm glad I scarred you a little bit.
Do you have any plans to take another stab at Don Quixote?
The famous default position. Yes. Yes, I've been working on it again, but I don't want to say anything else because every time I blab, it blows up in my face. So, yeah, I mean, it's just there. I really do want to get it out of my system so I can leave my wife again. So that's the plan. Thanks.
So, my professor had us watch Brazil in architecture school as part of kind of an inspiration for the course we were doing at the time. And all of your films, to me, come across as architecturally inspiring in many ways. And I was wondering if there was any way you could talk about some of your inspirations for some of the scenery, specifically in Brazil, but also in the new one.
Okay, let's do the new one first, because I can't remember what I did on the
It's some of those wonderful buildings we saw outside, right?
Now, every film I do, I start with some images. Actually, I can't remember. In Thailand, it was the Andrew Wyeth painting of Christina's World. I don't know if you know, it's in a wheat field. There's a house in the distance, and this woman in the foreground is sort of lying. And that was where it started. In Zero Theorem, there's a German painter called Neo Rauch, who I just find him extraordinary because he mixes different time periods, different styles, all within one painting. All from parts are graphic, parts are very literal, and it's this weird collage, juxtaposing things, and there's a lot of brilliant coloring in it. And that's what I was thinking about for this film. I do always gather images that start things off. Then reality comes to bear on the process, and it doesn't look anything like what I started out with. I mean, in the case of like Zero Theorem, we go to Bucharest, and it's supposed to be London. It doesn't look like London as we know it, but I like playing with that. I mean, and seeing how far you can stretch it to make it appear. So like in that instance, it took a lot of time to find the one London double-decker bus in Bucharest when we found it. And then it gets even weirder, because then I had all the traffic designed to drive on the side of the road that you drive in London. Whichever side do I drive on? On the right-hand side, and having got the bus and everything, all the other vehicles, of course, were the other way around. In fact, it was a complete disaster. It's not London at all. But when you start with, it could be just one or two images like that. In Brazil, I put some weird pictures. I had a bedroom, very elaborate kind of Edwardian bedroom, very richly appointed. And I got some ducks from something, from another photograph, and stuck them together. Okay, we're off and running. And because so much of the film and the process of making film is visual, a picture given to the various departments starts the process going, and then, because I work with really good people, they take it in their own directions, and we try to pull it back together. There's no plan, really, except for one or two ideas. Okay.
But my question is about the simple shot. You mentioned something on time bends, like getting the giant coming out of the water. It's a very simple thing that you did and had such a large effect. What is your opinion on the rise of CGI? And like the new Star Wars, it crumbles under its own weight in the CGI as opposed to the old one, or time bends and stuff like that. What are your thoughts? Does it take the shackles off, or do you think that it hampers?
It's a tool. It's a really useful tool. If you can control the tool, and so many films you end up having to hand it over to a factory, and so you kind of lose control in that sense. I use CG all the time. I've used it for years. I try to disguise it so often you don't know it's CG, because that's part of the thing. What I don't like is so many of the films I'm watching, gravity doesn't exist in them anymore. Things are impossible. When you see Johnny and I can't remember who was fighting on a yardarm in one of the pirate movies. There's no gravity, so there's no real threat there. It's become too much like a cartoon. And so often, and just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And I really try to keep things grounded. I mean, like in ours, there's 260 effect shots in there. And I think for the actors also, whenever I'm doing something where we're using CG, I want to have enough of a set, and then all the things they've got to touch and be aware of are real, because it helps them. I mean, I don't care how good an actor are you when you just stand there and say, oh, now, look at that green, out there. It's going to be a huge monster coming at you. It's got big wings. Come on, you're supposed to act. And all people do, like that. It just takes me out of it. I want to know that it's a real threat. That's why I'd rather just go and watch a Jackie Chan movie where that Jackie is doing it.
How are you doing? I recently saw the Zero Theorem on Amazon, and Christoph's character reminded me a lot of you, the guy who's trying to figure it all out no matter what the cost is, and Matt Damon's character reminded me of like Sid Sheinberg and the Weinstein brothers, who were just constantly trying to tear that person down. So how did those famous fights with those studio heads affect your art?
Well, I suppose it made me realize that I'm going to fight for my mistakes and not theirs. It's as simple as that. You have to fight for what you do. You've got to believe in it. You've got to believe in what you're doing more than your career. That's the key. And every film I make is the only film I'm ever going to make, is my attitude. And so I will go and do whatever is necessary to protect it, especially since, you know, people come on the film, actors, writers, all technicians, and they're working on that film, and then along comes Sid Sheinberg and says, oh, but we'd like a different ending, and in fact, we really don't want that story, let's be honest. And I said, well, that's just not the way it should work. And I take my signature on the film really important, so that's why I never get a director's cut. The trick is to do a film, do it with a studio like it, let them spend a lot of money, let the film go out there and really be successful. Then when the DVD comes out, you get to do your version and call it the director's cut. That's cheating, folks.
So I'll go a little bit left field here to kind of get away from the film a little bit here. Recently, you had actually contributed, and I won't say in case anybody hasn't played it yet, to a video game called The Unfinished Swan. And I'm thinking with a lot of the advances that we've got with the systems these days, if say that there was a video game publisher that actually came around, sort of be like, congratulations, you get to do whatever the hell that you want, and you basically don't have to worry about spending any money to do anything. Or would that be something that would interest you, or do you see yourself pretty much sticking to film?
We'll give you my address right now. No, I mean, there's something about video games that I've been quite intrigued with for some time, because, well, they seem to be doing better than most movies out there. I actually did one years ago. I was involved with the company just when we were back in the CD-ROM era, and basically designed a lot of the game, and the company went bust, unfortunately, so it never happened. And I keep thinking, I'd like to do a video thing because I think my mind works that way, and I think it was great, but I have no idea what to do. But I just think it's very interesting. So if you know anybody in the business, Twitter account, just like that. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Gilliam! I would like to know what inspired the guppies!
Elsa, I really don't know. I was not
It's an iconic and classic piece of animation.
Thank you very much. It was actually written by some of the other boys in the group. I wasn't party to it. Thank you.
So I'm American too, and Brazil seems to my Alabama eyes to be a lot like England in the 70s in some ways. Do you think we're more or less like Brazil today?
Oh, I mean, I think I don't know if some of you may or not have seen it, when I was out promoting Thailand, and then George W. was still running the country, and I said that I was thinking of suing them for the illegal and unauthorized remake of Brazil. And I want to take full credit for Homeland Security. It was all my idea. Yeah, I mean, it was like Brazil at the time, people think that it's rather prescient. I was really, again, just doing a film about the world that existed there and the way I saw it. It's just, actually the world just become more transparent in a sense. It used to be clever at hiding what it was really doing. Now it's there. Thanks.
Just want to say one thank you. Your films have made me smile, laugh, cry throughout the years. I grew up watching Monty Python, especially The Holy Grail. I've learned through 3 video cassettes of it. And very much I think is one that stuck with me as because as I'm getting older, see as a child, but it's got that visual of a child, and an old man just like, no, I can't go on with life. And he finds that spark. Well, my question for you was, where did you find like all this imaginary spark to make such a film like that?
Well, that's why there is Sally Salt in the film. Because at that time I was feeling old, tired, burnt out, and in a sense it was my daughters that gave me a bit of energy to to do something. And that's why Sally Salt is like his main secondary character who keeps the Baron going. Baron's saying, I'm tired. I can't want to die. No, you can't. And that's, it's really that. Somewhere, you know, there's a lot of, when I get really depressed, there's bits of family that I still like. Or just, you've got some really nice silver birches outside the window. It does the job. But kids, it's great. It's when you see kids and when you can surprise them and delight them. Wow. And if you can kind of encourage adults to find their kidness as well, to be surprised and not get worn down by the reality that is life. That's the thing that I enjoy doing. However, Zero Theorem, if you haven't seen it, is a sad film. It's less funny, it's funny, but ultimately I think there's a great sadness in it. But that's what I love playing with. I'm not afraid. Some people get very confused by that. How can you do a serious or a sad film and be very funny at the same time? Ain't that what life is supposed to be about? Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to thank you for Time Bandits. I was about 13 years old. Came along in my life at a time that was really shitty one. And by the time the credits were over, it told me that it's okay not to get along with your folks, but more importantly, that it's okay to be a dreamer, and I really want to thank you for that.
Thanks.
And I'm dying to see the operas that you directed. Any chance that I can get them, that we can see them on DVD or anything like that?
I know what the plans are. I mean, it was filmed, it did go out into cinemas around the world. I mean, I'm not sure where exactly.
I think Faust is available.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the one I'm dying to see.
Oh, Faust.
Yeah.
I don't know if they made a DVD, but the BBC filmed it. And I'm trying to get the opera to put it on in a few other places. Then I did this other one, Cellini, which did go out in the cinemas, but Faust is my preferred one.
Casting Christoph was amazing. Before Zero Theorem, what was your favorite role of his?
Well, the only one I really knew was Inglourious Bastards. Django hadn't come out yet. Yeah, and I'd only seen Inglourious Bastards and Carnage, or as the French say, Carnage. And that was it. But it was enough. I didn't need any more. I mean, his role in Inglourious Bastards is extraordinary. Now, Christoph will always argue, yeah, he was ready to do it, but it was the writing. The character was written, and he just ran with it. I mean, it's an extraordinary bit of work. And again, what I loved about him being that much older when he was discovered. He's an extraordinary actor. And I don't know, again, he always goes on about, where are the really good parts I get my teeth into. And the problem is writing and getting enough really good scripts through the system. And that's the biggest problem, I think.
My name's Kurt. I'm from Rochester, New York, which is one of the cities that...
that country.
Yes, sir. Which is one of the cities where Munchausen did play. I know you always complain about it didn't get much of a release, but I'm happy to say that was one of the places it played. I saw it there. I remember the audience was packed, laughing at every time Eric had to open his mouth. It really worked the crowd very well, and I've been a fan ever since. My question is about both Munchausen and Fisher King had Criterion releases on Laserdisc with commentaries that haven't been available on DVD or Blu-ray. Do you think that there's any chance that those Criterion releases might be re-released?
I know that Fisher King is going to be redone, because when I get back to London, I've actually got to look at, to check if the quality of the print they've done is good. Yeah, I know that's happening. I don't know what's happening in Munchausen. It was interesting reading that it was on the web recently, it's me talking over, which film am I talking about? Fisher King. It's actually on the web, you can find it. Somebody's got the whole commentary. And it's kind of, Huh? The web, I know the web is everything. You'll love it. Yeah, so hopefully, I know they're going to be doing a new version, so hopefully it'll come out Blu-ray, whatever. I mean, there's all these, it's invariably the contracts, it's getting things cooked because the studio still owns some of the media, so.
Okay, so your entire career, your films and everything like that, you mentioned earlier that you never were able to get Don Quixote out of your system. But I feel like we are better for having Don Quixote in your system for so long because I've seen so many different elements of Don Quixote through everything you've done to the point that I'm so satisfied with Don Quixote. And I love Don Quixote. And even if you didn't make Don Quixote, you made it so many times over and your characters and everything like that. So I guess my question is, was that conscious or was it really just it was in your system and that character just kind of came through?
You put your finger on the truth. I mean, because there's a side of me that is never sure whether I'm ever going to pull it off. So I steal from it. Quixote becomes the quarry and pull things out. Some of them are conscious and some aren't. I mean, but they're ideas. My wife keeps saying, I just make the same film, same ideas, just different costumes. And she's partly right. I mean, because there's certain things that just stick with me. And the sense of Quixote is really there a lot in many things, because it's, I think, not seeing the world as others see it. Most people think you're an idiot. And most people that talk to me think I'm an idiot for carrying on. But if you're going to do Quixote, you have to become Quixote.
This is our last question for today, but Terry will be back again tomorrow for another panel in the Sheraton at, I'm looking at my test, 1 o'clock, same time. So, more questions at the Batman Redeemer Challenge. So, Prozy Robot and Tom Servo, you had breakfast with Prozy Robot this morning.
Sir, I have to say what an absolute honor it is to have you here with us today. And as you mentioned, you plan on making even more great contributions to film. I was wondering, do you have any plans to continue your adaptation of The World Jones Made?
Whoa! The World Jones Made. That's very funny, because just last week, this is not a setup question. I'll tell you, because Philip K. Dick's daughter emailed me last week, asked me, was I still interested in adapting The World Jones Made? Yes, I've got to do a Philip K. Dick book before I die, that's all.